Sitting awkwardly in the college entrance ceremony, Kumasaka Takeru stood out from the crowd. He was tall, well-built, dark-skinned and had light hair. He wore a grumpy face while the others around him commented on his appearance, including the odd suit. Internally, the softy that was Kumasaka was almost crying with how angry and embarrassed he felt. He stood out in so many ways and he hated it, just wanting to be normal, or at least fit in. Though his soft inside was broken up over this, externally, he looked like he was about to end someone. He blames this whole disaster on the suit he wore because of his brother's recommendations. Unfortunately for the softy Kumasaka, his older brothers are delinquents, and he isn't, and their fashion sense gave everyone the wrong impression about him. Devastated, Kumasaka believes that he'll never make any friends, falling into a state of despair. While he suffered, the girl next to him took notice of the giant sitting next to her. Looking at Kumasaka all enamored, Tozawa Kiyoka thought about how he was built different to normal delinquents and seemed to be probably a total playboy, which she liked, blushing to the thought of it. After a moment, she notices that Kumasaka was crying, shocking her to the core. She couldn't believe that she was seeing a delinquent cry. Feeling bad for him, she tells him that he can use her handkerchief, if he really needs it. Looking at it, he notices how cute it was, with a bunny motif on it. She tells him it's for him, apologizing that it's so cute while he has the appearance of a gruff man. Tozawa told Kumasaka that life might be scary sometimes, but they should do their best to make their new chapter in life the best it can be. Heart racing, he feels so thankful to her, and perhaps even more. Stumbling on his words, he manages to thank her and continue on with his college life. Fast forwarding 3 years, Kumasaka was looking at his bunny handkerchief and dreaming about meeting the nice girl with short hair that helped him that day. Little did he know, she had changed, but had not taken her eyes off of him, admiring his body from a distance. The towering and daunting figure of Kumasaka has always been more akin to that of a hamster, soft and gentle. Unfortunately, his body didn't get the memo. Meanwhile, Tozawa, with her delicate frame and inviting appearance, was closer to that of a panther, ready to strike her prey and devour them. In a search for a friend, Kumasaka approached Tozawa, not realizing who she is. He asks if the two could hang out, to get to know her since they are classmates. Internally, he comments that he's seen Tozawa often alone, just like him, and thinks that this might be a chance to solve the issues for both of them. 2 birds, 1 stone. Turning to face Kumasaka, she is taken aback since he's never approached her since their first meeting. She questions Kumasaka if it will be just the 2 of them, alone, seeming to look concerned. However, in her mind, she thought that Kumasaka was a playboy, and if the 2 of them are alone, it means that they are going to spend the night together, exciting her. While Tozawa thinks about spending the night together with Kumasaka, he explains to her that since he asked her to hang out, he will pay for all the costs. As Tozawa thanked him, Kumasaka took out his wallet and a small, square object fell out. Both of them looked at it before Kumasaka quickly picked it back up. Tozawa, only seeing the object for a moment, let her mind go wild. The shape, the size, it must be protection. Her imagination took her away, leaving her blushing from her daydreams. Kumasaka, clutching on the dropped object, warns himself about being so careless. He dropped his grandma's handmade Lucky Charm, which, if he lost, would be disastrous for him. After walking a while, Kumasaka asks Tozawa if she's tired and needs to rest. He barely gets the words out before she jumps up and down, saying yes please. He comments that she answered so quick, so she clearly must be hungry. As he spoke, Tozawa was doing quick maths on prices for a room in a love hotel. In all her excitement and jumping around, Tozawa slips on her heel and begins to fall over. Moving swiftly, Kumasaka manages to wrap his arms around her, saving her from injury. In the suddenness of the action, he hadn't realized that he had grabbed Tozawa's chest. Panicking, Kumasaka asked a flurry of questions. Are you okay? Are you hurt? The genuineness of his words was not in question, as his concern was written all over his face. Blushing from the intimate moment, Tozawa thanks Kumasaka for his efforts, before adding that his hand is squeezing her. Only now realizing Kumasaka was so shocked that he couldn't form words in that instant. Finally acting, Kumasaka retracts his arm and apologized, explaining that he hadn't noticed until he stopped. His right arm, it was stuck. The pair began to struggle, the giant softy attempting to free his hand, while the little minx attempted with all her might to keep his hand squeezing her. With his hand trembling in pain, Kumasaka thinks that he almost got his hand ripped off by the panther that is Tozawa. She spat in frustration as her pace slipped the trap. Meanwhile, Kumasaka thought that she did it out of anger since he grabbed her, and he couldn't blame her for that. Turning on the charm, Tozawa claims that she thinks she twisted her ankle in the fall, and would Kumasaka be a gentleman and give her a piggyback ride so they can continue on. Being a real sweetheart and falling for Tozawa's puppy eyes, Kumasaka instantly offered his back to her, saying that they should find somewhere to sit and ice it ASAP. Climbing on, she swung around and clung to his chest like a lover rather than a damsel in distress. Trying to laugh it off, Kumasaka says that he can't walk when she's in this position. Internally, his mind was a mess. What kind of piggyback was this? She smells good, no, focus. Worried about falling to the temptations of the flesh, he asked his granny what should he do. Deciding to just ask her to back off, he begins to say so, but Tozawa has other ideas. She gently blows on his ear in an attempt to entice him into doing something, her eyes darkened, hungry for touch. Kumasaka, blushing slightly but serious, warns Tozawa. She should be careful teasing a guy like she is, or something bad might happen. He continues, saying that Tozawa is cute and if she did this to someone else, they might get the wrong idea and do something ungentlemanly. Tozawa has a puzzled look on her face, wondering if she was that hard to understand. She's been throwing out green lights, green flags. Does she need to throw out green undies at him to get him to understand? What she had imagined happening was Kumasaka understanding her wants, spoiling her rotten, and then going at it all night to her pleasure. After an adjustment to a bridal carry, Tozawa stared up at Kumasaka in admiration, as he thinks about if he has to carry her the whole way there like this. Attempting to calm himself, he thinks over and over that he's just helping. His thoughts, though, are interrupted by Tozawa. Tozawa was squished against Kumasaka's pec, like a child to their teddy bear. She comments on how his chest is impressive, as she was blissfully pressed against them. Only realizing now, he released her and gently placed her down. Tozawa began to alter the conversation, saying that if he asked her to lick his pecs, she would, but not here, because it's in public. Kumasaka, slightly disappointed, asks Tozawa what even is he to her. Continuing to be the gentleman, Kumasaka goes to get medicine for Tozawa's ankle, telling her that he'll be back soon. Defeated, Tozawa can only thank him. Realizing she needs to improve her attempts, she begins searching for why he isn't noticing her cues. When it comes to nighttime aerobics, she's extremely diligent. Lost in her research, Tozawa didn't hear the stranger calling out to her. Sitting beside her and draping his arm over her shoulder, the real playboy asks if she's alone and would she like to play with him. With her face darkening, Tozawa threatens the scummy man, slapping away his hand and saying that if he touches her again, she'll call the cops. He says that she's quite harsh. Playfully confused, he asks Tozawa that she does want to fool around with guys, right? Tozawa, offended, questions what he means. Pointing to her phone, he says that her entire search history is filled with adult activities questions. Embarrassed about being caught, Tozawa attempts to shoo away the creep, telling him to mind his own business. Unfortunately, the man doesn't take no for an answer, and grabs her wrist tightly, telling her not to joke around. With a twisted, sick grin, the man remarks that Tozawa shouldn't be so picky if she just wants to hook up with someone. Dread began to fill Tozawa as she realized that she was now in way over her head and she can't see a way out. A perverse look overtook the man's face as he gripped tighter on Tozawa's wrist, loudly and rapidly saying that they should just go now. He knows she's got to go. They should be going to a love hotel already. Tozawa cries out in pain as the man practically crushes her wrist, telling him to stop. She tells him that she's already made up her mind. She's decided who she will spend the night with, and it's not him. The stranger doesn't have a chance to reply, as the dread apparition of Kumasaka loomed behind Tozawa and reached out, starting to crush the stranger's face. Fury flowing through him, Kumasaka yells at the stranger, asking what the hell was he doing. He demanded an apology from him for Tozawa. The stranger's muffled apology squeaked out, saying that he didn't know Tozawa had a boyfriend. Kumasaka, still furious, yells that it doesn't matter if she was single or had a partner. What he did was wrong. Tozawa, in her favorite position, notices the passers-by muttering and calling the police, alarming her. Kumasaka asks her for her opinion on what to do with the stranger. Worried for Kumasaka, she tells him that she's fine, the stranger has been neutered, and they should leave. Kumasaka, still angry, begins to crack the stranger's skull, saying that he should just do a bit more. Tozawa yells at him, saying to stop, they should just go. Now.